Pneumonia is an infectious respiratory disease which affects the lungs, causing difficulty in breathing due to limited intake of oxygen. The disease is caused by viruses, bacteria, and fungi which can be airborne. Commonly found in low-income and developing regions, mostly in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, it is the leading cause of death in children under 5 years of age worldwide and people with underlying health problems. Despite being easily preventable and treatable, those living in poor communities are at highest risk of contracting pneumonia. To sustain the progress in the fight against pneumonia, the 12th of November worldwide is celebrated as World Pneumonia Day. Nigeria Today will focus on Nigeria's access to vaccines and other preventive efforts to decreasing the burden of the disease. Welcome to the program. I am Dennis Adigunloye. And with me in the studio to provide answers to this issue is Dr. Kingsley Osagie, Senior Consultant Physician and Pulmonologist at the National Hospital, Abuja. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. And also with me is Dr. Joseph Seriki, Acting Head, Health and Child Survival Unit, Save the Children International. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for joining.
All right, well, today is World Pneumonia Day, has celebrated since 2009. Let's just start with you, Dr. Osagie. What are the general risk factors and symptoms of pneumonia?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk on pneumonia. Risk factors even start from where you were born. And of course, if you are born in a very low socioeconomic setup, you have a higher risk of pneumonia. And of course, the fact that you are a child, your immune system is also not mature, so they are not able to fight the invading organism. And then, of course, if you are also unlucky to not have good nutrition, so malnutrition becomes a very important risk factor for pneumonia. And then, of course, if you live in born and you now live in a crowded environment, and that's another risk factor for it. And of course, even if you live in a fairly decent environment, what the activities of human beings inside, that what we call indoor pollution, still makes the child, predisposed to having pneumonia. If the parents, for example, are smoking, their kids are likely going to have pneumonia. And of course, if they're using biomass like firewood, people still cook with firewood in their houses, even inside the living room, kerosene stove, they put it there, and what? But generator. These generators, better pass my neighbor, is still everywhere. Yeah. And of course, for people that are around this area, the risk of having pneumonia is there. And of course, if that's for the adults, if you are not smoking, that risk increases. And then with the prevalence of diseases now, current diseases like HIV, makes the individual that is suffering from these diseases prone to having pneumonia. And of course, other diseases that can suppress the immune system, like cancers, diabetes mellitus, chronic renal failure, so a lot of blood diseases. If one has it, then of course you're likely going to have this. And of course, if you also in contact with somebody that has pneumonia, maybe you was that what this is, and you
it's highly contagious.
Yes, yep. Because come in contact because it is airborne. Airborne, and of course when the person that has pneumonia coughs, it spews out these pathogens. And of course, if you are close by, you'll be unfortunate to inhale some, and then that could this thing. And of course, you said about the symptoms for adults. Chief amongst them is cough, and cough that is productive of sputum. And this sputum for pneumonia, particularly for lobar pneumonia, is characteristic. So if the sputum is described as rusty brown, so I'm coughing and bringing out phlegm, and describe the color as rusty brown, most likely you're dealing with pneumonia. And some sputum can even come with blood. Okay. We call hemoptysis. And then following that, you have fever. In pneumonia, the fever is usually, particularly for community-acquired pneumonia, fever is usually of high grade. You see the individual having chills and rigors and all that. And of course, is chest pain. This chest pain that occurs, we will describe it as pleuritic chest pain. Because when the patient breathes in, he pushes the lungs against the chest wall, and that irritates the covering, the natural covering of the lungs, which is called the pleura, and that causes pain. And then quickly, let me just go to the children, because for children, the child that is playing around, very active, suddenly becomes inactive, and refusing feeds. And of course, you observe the child is breathing very fast, the respiratory rate is increasing, and then you observe the face of the child, the nose is expanding. And of course, you look at the chest. Yep. Normally when you take a deep breath, the chest expands. But for these children that have pneumonia, the chest goes in. When they breathe in? Yeah, when they're breathing, it goes in. That's indrawing of this, what we call intercostal muscles and subcostal muscles. So, and of course, if you look very well, you see that they are using the muscles of the neck. The neck are becoming, because they're trying to get in air. Okay. So if you are having a child that is having all that, wow.
Action must be taken swiftly. So, all right. Let me bring in Dr. Seriki. Why is it that pneumonia is one of the leading causes of deaths among children under 5?
Thank you very much. Yeah. As we all know, pneumonia is quite a serious issue as regards under 5 mortality. In fact, just the recent studies conducted shows pneumonia is the leading infectious cause of death amongst under 5 children. And if you look at this very closely, at the community level where children are actually dying, one of the major causes, one of the major reasons why children die of this particular disease is because they are not easily detected. The women, the caregivers cannot easily identify this is serious enough for them to take to the hospital. Okay. Most times in the field, at the community level, you see a woman with a child having fast breathing and difficulty in breathing. The next thing she does is takes the child, gives herbal concussion and all of that. It's lack of awareness, and one of the key reasons why most times at the community level children die of this particular disease, it's because also facilities, equipment are not available to diagnose, to treat, most importantly, and manage this case of pneumonia. It would surprise you to know that most of our facilities at the field, at the community level, the primary health centers, oxygen, which is very crucial in the treatment of pneumonia, severe pneumonia, is not available in most of these settings.
The most important component of treating pneumonia is
it's lacking. And it will also amaze you to know in the field, at the state, at the community level, majorly, the drug that has been recommended by WHO to treat pneumonia, which is the simple amoxicillin, is also not readily available. And put that together, it makes it difficult for health workers who even have the knowledge, do not have what it takes to manage these cases. The first layer, it's most times women, the caregivers, find it difficult to identify this and bring the children to the hospital. And when that happens, when they succeed in overcoming that layer, the health workers do not have what it takes to adequately manage this.
So how do they, what's the difference between identifying the symptoms in a under 5-year-old child as opposed to, let's say, an adult? I mean, it's obviously more, easier to identify in an adult.
It's easier. Yeah. It's easier to actually identify in a child.
Okay.
But the issue is this. Most caregivers do not know that this is pneumonia.
Okay.
They know this child is sick. They do not know this is pneumonia, and they are what we call danger signs of pneumonia. When a child is having fast breathing, and just like Dr. Sage did mention, chest indrawing, and you see a child with high fever, these key things are the danger signs, which means if nothing is done within 48 to 72 hours, we are at risk of losing this child.
Okay, so there's a very small window that's where something needs to be
And
to be
at
done.
such points, when the caregiver decides to move this child to the hospital, for a child who is having fast breathing, obviously the SpO2 will be low. That's the using pulse oximeter. Yeah, it would be low, and it will require oxygen. And at the community level, this oxygen is lacking.
Okay.
Before they are referred to a higher level, the child dies.
All right, so Dr. Osage, Dr. Serke has brought up two critical issues: identifying the disease and then the necessary components to treat pneumonia, especially among the children. What is being done to improve these two critical components in regards to treating pneumonia?
You mentioned very critical factors. The caregiver issues, and then the system issues, which a failure of provision of the needed drugs. But apart from that, prevention is very, very important, because immunization is very, very important. We can actually immunize our children against pneumonia. So because of the causes of pneumonia, the bacterial causes of pneumonia, strep pneumonia is high on the list. Okay, and of course we have vaccine for this. Are these vaccines available? Yes, they are available in the country. But what are the challenges? The challenge is that it's expensive. Because as we speak, the costs will range from a dose between 10,000 to 20,000 naira, depending on where you are getting it. Okay. And you agree with me that it's not very easy. And for kids, they will need to take 3 doses. So I hope we'll get there. That I think this is if we create this awareness, one of the things that we can take out from this discussion is for government to step in. Okay. To make these vaccines available, if not free, but at a subsidized rate.
All right.
Because prevention is very key.
Yeah, certainly.
Then if you cannot prevent, then you must arm yourself with the information to identify this disease, which we have enumerated. Tried that this is having fever, coughing, and all that stuff. And then, of course, another reason why, even if you have all this, the kids may still die, is this prevalence of this disease of the day, HIV, is still very key. Then, of course, following pneumonia is TB.
Okay.
Still, and of course, they are all like following.
If you just hold that thought, this is our discussion. Part of the program is where we take issues to the streets. So let's just get a view of some people on the streets with regards to this crucial and critical issue of pneumonia.
What I know about pneumonia is that it's a sickness that affects the upper respiratory system of the body, the lungs, and the other organs relating to smaller organs are connected with the lungs. and it's usually caused by severe cold.
That is why when you have new baby, you born baby like maybe 1 month from a day to 1 year, you're not supposed to expose him, because you have to cover it when the baby is still a blood, it's not strong, so you have to cover it well, so that any area that you find yourself, you have to cover the baby so that you will not have pneumonia.
I lost an elder brother as a result of pneumonia, and in fact we fought seriously but couldn't survive it.
Goes down to the government as well, public sensitization, public awareness, most especially in the rural areas where the public knowledge about pneumonia is not well known. So government needs to create more sensitization as well.
The program is Nigeria Today, and our focus is on World Pneumonia Day. And I have still with me Dr. Kingsley Osagie and Dr. Joseph Siriki on to discuss this issue with us. Let me come to Dr. Siriki. You heard some of the viewpoints of members of the public. Would you say you're satisfied with their understanding of pneumonia?
Well, just to say it's a starting point.
It's a starting point.
It's better than not having an idea at all about pneumonia. And this underscores the importance of community sensitization and creating awareness, which is the fundamental basis for commemorating the World Pneumonia Day in the first place. It's to create that awareness about the disease and the need for the government to take the lead, and also the need for more investment in this area about the disease. And just to follow on to the previous discussion about the vaccines and preventing the disease, and the federal government has done quite a lot, and I must commend the federal government for that. And in 2016, the vaccine called PCV, pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, was rolled out and incorporated into the immunization schedule for Nigeria. And as we speak, last year in 2017, health workers were trained across the country at the primary healthcare level, as well as all immunization service providers were trained on the vaccine, the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, and it's currently available. And I would like to say to the average community person in the community, these vaccines are available in your nearest primary health center. Just walk in there with your child and ensure that you get these vaccines, because they've been highly subsidized. In fact, I will call it free at the community level. Okay. Yes, and they are very much available for us.
That's a very good one. It's good. It's heartwarming to hear that it's available, and you can easily get it. It's heartwarming. So my instruction to parents out there is, so look, tomorrow morning, you don't have to wait till the next day. Tomorrow morning, take your child to every the nearby primary health care center and get your child vaccinated. But let us not focus on only the child. Even the adults needs to be vaccinated. So there are vaccines now that you can also give to the adults, because adults are also dying from pneumonia. So, and they need to also benefit from these vaccines. Okay.
All right. There are some proven approaches and solutions that have generally around the world that have successfully dealt with pneumonia. Highlight for us some of these approaches that need additional resources and attention.
Okay. Well, globally, one of the key approaches that have been adopted in preventing, controlling, and treating pneumonia, it's quite a three-pronged approach, and it's globally acceptable. The first is you prevent it from happening, and in preventing the pneumonia, just like it's been mentioned earlier, we ensure that your child is vaccinated, you ensure that there are the environmental conditions are acceptable, no overcrowding, and all the other factors, the indoor pollution, it's avoided. Then also in preventing, one very crucial thing, it's the part of exclusive breastfeeding for the child. Particularly, I'm speaking majorly for under 5 children. Exclusive breastfeeding. Documents and studies have shown that a child that is exclusively breastfed has a very, very much low risk of contracting.
Is that for the first year? Is that for the first year or first 18 months of life, or what time?
Within the 5-year period.
Breastfeeding up to 5 years.
What it does, it's the antibodies from the mother is transferred to the child within that 6-month period, and it also helps the child build his or her own immune system, which prepares the child for that 5-year first 1,000 days of life. That's the specific number of days. And having that exclusive breastfeeding and continuing breastfeeding for 2 years helps protect that child against pneumonia. That's the prevention aspect. Then the second approach is early detection and treatment. And prompt treatment. In detecting the case of pneumonia has to do, you need to ensure that an average community person who maybe is not schooled knows what to look for in the child when the child has pneumonia, or when your child is having fever, fast breathing. These are very, very dangerous signs that need immediate attention. So that's the aspect of treatment. That's the early detection and treatment.
All right, are there any, Dr. Saji, let me just come to you finally, are there any natural remedies that people can deploy, so to speak, to, ease the symptoms of pneumonia? just briefly.
I wish you have those natural ways of
like changing the diet or physical activity.
The natural way, the short natural way you can use is very good nutrition. Because if you have that good nutrition, then you are able to get your antibodies ready. And so when the organism comes calling, your antibodies will take care of them. That is very, very important. And of course, another natural way you can use to avoid these overcrowded places. So it's natural. And of course, somebody is coughing around you. This is not the time to show that you love the person. And you start going around hugging and all that stuff. You're most likely going to get, extension of that love from the person that is coughing. All right.
Well, it's been a pleasure for hearing from both of you on this very important topic of combating pneumonia, and hopefully by next year we'll be talking about even more positive steps being taken against the disease. I'd like to, this is it on the edition of Nigeria Today, but before we go, we'd like to appreciate Dr. Kingsley Osagie, a senior consultant, physician and pulmonologist at the National Hospital Abuja. Thanks for your insights on this topic. And also we'd like to thank Dr. Joseph Siriki, who is the acting head, Health and Child Survival Unit at the Save the Children International. Thank you for your insights on Nigeria Today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And many thanks to you for being part of Nigeria Today. And remember, you can watch this or any other edition online at youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Dennis at Digon Lawyer. Enjoy the rest of your day.